A rose by any other name, you ask? In this episode of The History Freak, we explore those literary geniuses that turn the natural world into prose. From the English Lake District to the salons of Paris, join us as we explore. Due to the coronavirus pandemic, we are unable to have our collages of manuscripts and autographs professionally matted and framed at this time. So let's dive right in, shall we? First off, we start with a handsome engraving of 18th century English historian, author, and member of Parliament Edward Gibbon. Gibbon was known for his historic work, The History of the Decline and Fall of the Roman Empire, published in several volumes starting in 1776. And here is a splendid example of his clipped signature, E. Gibbon. And next we have an imposing historical engraving of Sir Walter Scott, the Scottish historical novelist, poet, and playwright. Scott's noteworthy works include Ivanhoe, Rob Roy, and The Lady of the Lake. And here's a wonderful specimen of an envelope written in the hand of Scott. Behold, a beautiful engraving of one of the giants of English Romantic poetry, William Wordsworth, who helped launch the Romantic period of English literature. His noteworthy works include his lyrical ballads and The Prelude, an unfinished, semi-autobiographical poem. Here's a very old clipped signature of his, circa 1850. Later in his life, after living in Germany, Wordsworth moved to the English Lake District, particularly Grasmere. Here it is paired with two carte de visite, early photographs of both Wordsworth himself and his tombstone shown here. Truly one of the giants of English literature. Next is a fine engraving of Thomas Babington, 1st Baron Macaulay, the British historian, Whig politician, essayist, and poet. His literary works include Lays of Ancient Rome, out of which was the famous Horatius lines. Later, he was known for his other major work, The History of England from the accession of James II. And here's a lovely, albeit hastily written, handwritten letter signed by Macaulay himself. And what collection would be complete without a signed note by William Makepeace Thackeray, the British novelist, author, and illustrator born in India? He was known for his satirical works, including Vanity Fair, a portrait of British society. And his other main piece was The Luck of Barry Lyndon, made into a movie. Next we have a period engraving of Alfred Lord Tennyson, Poet Laureate of Great Britain and Ireland during much of the reign of Queen Victoria. Poems from his later collection include Locksley Hall, Ulysses, The Princess, a medley, and one of his best-known works, Charge of the Light Brigade, about the Crimean War. And here is an original, signed version of the key verses of his poem, Tears, Idle Tears. Notice the bold Tennyson signature at the bottom of the stanza. A very special piece indeed and a mainstay of the collection. And here's a humorous Vanity Fair magazine print of Alexandre Dumas, the French writer of well-known tomes such as The Count of Monte Cristo, The Three Musketeers, and 20 Years After. He also was the founder of the Théâtre Historique in Paris. And a very interesting signed piece here from Alcuin Books in Phoenix. This is a letter to an unknown newspaper editor complaining about invitations to one of his daughter's weddings. The translation loosely reads that the pleasure should be his and his alone for sending out invitations to his daughter's nuptials. Truly a bold signature. And last but not least, a wonderful quotation, Excelsior, of English journalist, short story writer, poet, and novelist Rudyard Kipling. The author of The Jungle Book, Captains Courageous, Gunga Din and many other works won the Nobel Prize for Literature in 1907, the first English language author to receive the prize. Here, his autograph and quote are paired very nicely with a clipped drawing from a page of a first edition of his work, The Jungle Book.